2 days later, when finally awakening after another heart attack, there appeared to be several differences this time around. 1. I knew for sure I wasn't dead. Nearby, I detected the soft and steady murmur of medical equipment as consciousness returned. 2. Chris's daughters weren't at my bedside as they were after the original incident. From the electric clock on the wall, painted some shade of soothing green, I saw the time was almost 6:30 p.m. It was early evening. They couldn't have been still stuck in a classroom at school. Except for the nurse and doctor who had now entered the room, I was totally alone. When they did arrive, shortly before 5 p.m. the next day, the two of them entered the room with serious and solemn expressions plastered on their tired and hurt-framed faces. Maybe it was whatever drugs the medical staff had administered while I was unconscious, or perhaps it was simply my imagination, but Noika and Anya, who were approaching their 18th birthdays, both appeared to be much older than the years they'd lived. Oh, sweet Lord, had I done this to my daughters? Had I... Wait a minute, 18th birthday? It struck me like a million bolts of lightning that while wallowing in my own self-pity and misery for more than a year, I'd completely overlooked, forgotten and neglected to even acknowledge their having turned 17. I hadn't even remembered to say happy birthday, much less than buy them gifts or commemorate the occasion with a celebration. That's how self-involved I'd become since my dear wife's death. How utterly deaf, dumb, blind, inconsiderate and oblivious I'd become when it came to anyone else's grief but my own. And those selfless teens who'd hit the pause button on their own social lives at a time when budding youngsters were supposed to make the transition from childhood and blossom into young adults, I'd thoughtlessly and selfishly stolen from them. Nary a single word of protest or disappointment about all they were so obviously missing out on had they uttered, all the while they were looking after me. They simply swallowed their pain, hid their tears, and stoically carried on caring for their only remaining parent, always and without fail placing my welfare above their own. About 5 minutes after my latest heart attack, they'd come through the door of our home to find me face down on the floor. While Anya called 911, Noika ran next door to see if Dr. Shantz was at home. Luckily he was. Gus and Lorraine returned with Chris's daughter to our house, and working together the four of them saved my life a second time. As before, Gus followed close behind the ambulance along with his wife and the girls. During the time it took Gus to check me into the hospital, then to consult with the attending physician, Lorraine and the girls sat fidgeting and nervous in the waiting room. Many hours later they were informed my condition had stabilised, but I would be unconscious for quite some time and they should just go home. Prior to leaving, Gus informed the head nurse that her job would be on the line if someone from the staff didn't call us as soon as I regained consciousness, and they did. So, 3 days after this current cardio incident, Gus, Anya and Noika drove back to the medical centre, albeit at a lower velocity than when following an ambulance. Minutes after my gloomy-looking girls had shown up, Gus entered the room with his ubiquitous doctor's bag. Using the stethoscope hanging around his neck to check my heart and pulse, and with an edge of tense, stone-cold professionalism in his voice, he asked questions pertaining to my condition. Once the state of my health was assessed, he joined my so far silent girls, and the three sat facing me in my hospital bed. Dr. Shantz was the first to speak. "Steve, you can't go on like this. You won't survive if you keep abusing your body and have another heart attack." For the first time since the first few days after her death, I saw Chris's daughters cry. Anya had now embraced Noika, while the two trembled and sobbed. "You've pushed it and us as far as you and we can go. Just stop it. You're not just killing yourself, you're killing all of us. We understand what you've been through, but you've been dragging us through it too. It hasn't been easy for any of us to accept Chris's death, but if you don't find a way to move on, then it won't be long till you die too. While perhaps that's what you want, just think of what that's doing to your daughters, if not to what it's doing to all of us. You've had us worried sick for a very long time. Just stop, God damn it. You've got to stop it immediately." The Shantzes were devout Catholics, so to hear him take the Lord's name in vain was unusual, to say the least. Lorraine and I spoke with the girls, and we all agree it would be better if they stayed with us for now. I'll arrange for a live-in nurse to care for you when you're released, so there will be someone to see after you while they're at our house. But listen, Steve, and I'm only going to tell you this once, that after you're released, you have to let us check you into rehab and stay there until they decide you're well enough to go home. If not, we'll file for permanent custody of Noika and Anya, and the girls have already agreed to this, and you'll lose them forever. So if you really want to keep on killing yourself, we're serving notice. We're not going to stand in your way any longer. You're just not going to keep doing it in front of us anymore. Just listen to what he's saying. Just fucking listen, Dad. Please, just start listening to us. Do you want us to drop out of school and not go to college so we can take care of you? Because if that's the only way to keep you alive, we'll fucking do it. But is that what you really want us to do? Rehab? I really don't think I need to go into rehab. And I know you're right. I have to start making some changes in my life, but I can do it on my own. Well, if that's the way you feel, Gus said as he and my daughter stood up to leave, then there's nothing left to discuss and we'll be on our way. If you do change your mind, then call. If not, you're on your own, Steve. And without saying another word, shedding another tear, or even leaving a single kiss on my always ready to be kissed by them cheeks, they exited the room and left me alone to my own devices. Closing my eyes, I questioned what had just gone down. Had I just lost my daughters, in addition to losing two of the few friends I still had in this world? Rehab. I don't need to go into rehab to get better. I could take care of myself without that. Hell, I could even... Shranjay, Steve. Get it together, if not for your sake, if not for mine, then for theirs. Stop acting like a petulant child. I know you love them as much as you loved me, so if you now don't do what you know is in your heart, the heart that you once claimed to have given to us, then you'll not only lose me forever, but you'll lose Anya and Noika too. I know who you truly are, and it's not this self-absorbed monster in mourning you've become since I died. Chris's ghost had not visited me for some time, and I missed my wife. Opening my eyes, I saw she was now standing at the foot of my bed, looking angrier than I could remember having seen her during the years we were together and alive. She'd gotten mad at me in the past, but I've never seen her in this way. Her beautiful face was now ugly and livid with rage, and the acrimony was focused solely on me. Once more the woman I loved made my heart skip another beat, but just not in the same way it had the first time we met on the stairs of our old apartment, or the many times during the years we'd been together. Sweetheart, I don't think I'm dead, Steve, so just let go of me, because by your own acts of selfishness you're dying too. But our daughters are alive, so live so they can get on with their lives. Please, Steve, please. If you really ever wanted to do anything to show me just how much you love me, then let go of our past and let them live. You're making me realise what a fool I married when I married you. Don't you even see what you're doing? You're not only ruining your life, but you're ruining our daughters too. Do you really want our girls to drop out of high school and not go to college, to take care of you? Is that what you want to do after all these years we've raised and loved them as much as we loved each other? Stop it, stop it, stop it, Steve. Just fucking stop it now. Chris, I told you, I don't need to go into rehab. And before I'd finished that ill-conceived sentence, I heard the sound of the final penny drop as the understanding ultimately struck home, and what those words actually meant. My wife had married a fool, and that fool was me. Okay, Steve, you lost me once, you're losing our daughters, and now you're about to lose me again. Because this time when I leave, and unless you do what they say and let them check you into rehab, this time I swear it'll be for eternity. Please, 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 please do this for all of us. Please do this for our family. Steve... Before Chris could finish what she was saying, and prior to leaning in to try to kiss me on my always ready to be kissed by her cheek, the way that she'd done during all those past brief visits, her apparition had disappeared from my room in a blinding flash of light. Oh my God, had it really come to this again? Could this really be the end?